Configuring, applying, and testing digit manipulation. So as I was creating this slide, I was thinking, okay, are we done with dial peers yet? You know, have we escaped the dial peer topic and moved on to something else? And I went back and forth. I'm like, well, maybe I should create, you know, a new theme or something, but I don't think so. I mean, I think we really still are in the dial peer world. It's just our minds have been broadened so much bigger, to where we're now thinking about our whole dial plan for the system, which the dial peer is the foundation of. Now, and think about how far we've come here. I mean, we've come from, wow, this is the dial peer. Look, I dial this and it makes a phone ring, all the way to inbound and outbound, all the way to, you know, preference and hunt groups, and now here we are. In the last nugget, we talked about regular expressions and really understanding the syntax of how these transformations are going to work, and now we're going to do the transformations themselves. So we're going to go through what I would call the rules of the rules, because we have transformation rules will be how we apply this, so there are specific rules that govern them. And then we'll do plenty of configuration where we're creating and applying these. Well, let's start off with the rules of the rules. Translation rules is what I'm going to talk about, which is the configuration in Cisco voice gateways, allowing you to change called or calling information to whatever you want. Now, you remember, we talked about this before, right? Called is the number that you dialed, or technically known as DNIS, Dialed Number Information Service. Calling is the caller ID information, technically known as ANI, Automatic Number Identification. So that's the information. And before I go any further, I've got to define the why. And I thought, man, how convenient. I literally just got out of configuring one of these for a school. I inherited a school's voice over IP system, and they are running a Cisco UC520, just what I'm running here in this little lab environment. And literally, it's Monday right now, and on Friday of last week, I was out there doing this configuration. It's funny how I think. I'm like, oh, this will make such a great story. But I'm going through, and their extensions are kind of all over the place. There wasn't really any scheme followed, but they have translations going every which way. At the school, let me give you a little sneak peek of what their configuration looks like. They have the UC520. They actually have it's a T1 line. It's not a true SIP trunk or voice over IP coming in yet. Coming into this, and they have DID numbers that are being delivered by the phone carrier. Now, some of those DIDs, and I can't find the consistency, come in as a 10-digit number. So, you know, say somebody dials 623-551-5191 or something like that. Comes in here, and the router literally receives 623-551-5191. So inside of their company, they have it's a school. Inside of the school, they have phones that have 4-digit extensions. So here's one that's 4192 or something like that. And they say, okay, when somebody calls this, I want that DID number to go there. So we have to create a translation rule that translates called information. So when somebody called this number from the outside, it hits this and then translates it directly over to here. So the router says, oh, okay, well, you called that, but I really want it to ring this. That's a perfect example of translation rule. Likewise, when this phone dials out, I don't want, you know, in a T1 line situation or a SIP trunk, I don't want 4-digit extensions to show up on the caller ID of the outside world. You know, here's world phone 1. I want it to show this number or the general number of the company. So we have to create calling transformation. So when this person dials 9 and gets an outside line and calls world phone 1, this doesn't show up. Instead, this does. So again, called or calling transformation. So this is similar to calling and call transformations in, I put CCM. It's like my brain is on autopilot. CUCM is the new name. CCM, Cisco Call Manager, the old name. CUCM, Cisco Unified Communication Manager. So if you have some experience, this is the same thing. And I guess the reason I'm showing you this example and just talking through this is I really want you to catch this is an all the time kind of thing. This is not something that you're like, oh wow, I have to do one of those. Like it doesn't happen commonly. I mean, this is like a standard phone system configuration, and I emphasize that because it's easy. I know when I see regular expressions, I'm like, okay, this must be like you're in the nitty gritty troubleshooting. You know, this is rare. Not so here. We're always using these transformations, and just like we saw in the last nugget, these do use regular expressions to do their work. So again, using that match and set / here's your match string, / here's your set string, and you use those to transform between them. The way it works, the way the rules are created, is you define the rules. You literally go in and say, okay, I've got rule number 50, and I say I want to do this, I want to do that, I want to do this. All these different transformations can be defined under there, and those rules are placed inside of a profile. Now, what's the profile to? Well, it says I want to take rule number 50 and apply it to calling information. So this one says, change the number 9 to 555 or something like that. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to apply that to the caller ID when it goes out. And then that profile can be assigned to nearly anything. Just about anything voice. You can assign it to an FXS port. You can assign it to a dial peer. You can assign it to Call Manager Express as a whole. The whole system. I mean, they make this nice and modular and flexible to where you can really apply it where you need it. So now let's dig a little bit deeper. When it comes to the rules themselves, you get a certain number of sub-rules that can be created per rule. I didn't know what else to call them. This is what the configuration looks like. We type in global configuration mode. You actually type in voice, translation, rule. Let's do number 1. And then underneath that, you can create rule number 1. And rule 2 and rule 3, and each one of these is the actual act of what you want to do. Then those, the voice translation rule, are linked to a translation profile, which that's where you get into the transform, the calling, the caller ID, the called, or even, we haven't talked about this one yet, the redirected number information, to where you can even change it when somebody transfers a call. They're now the redirector, and you can say, well, I want to modify, so people either don't see who transferred the call, or maybe I want it to show it coming from, this, or I want to block it all together. I mean, you can get crazy with this stuff, but by far this is the most common ones that you'll do. And keep in mind, I know right about now it's probably like, oh, this is pretty hairy. A couple of things on that. Once you see a couple examples of this, you're going to be like, oh, that's not bad at all. That makes sense. And then it becomes one of those things that's really cool. You're kind of like, oh, this is neat, because it's kind of like subnetting. Once you know it, you're like, wow, not that many people know this, and it's needed. I get it. It makes sense. But also, while I'm talking about this, keep in mind this isn't something that's like, yeah, you use that sometimes here or there. I mean, this is used all the time. This is like, right along with, hey, let's assign phone numbers. Hey, we need some translation rules. This is not just a small thing that we do here and there. It is a very common thing. So let me draw it like this. Think of it like we've got these rules. So I've got my rule 1, rule 2. You take all those rules. I'm taking kind of an opposite approach, and you put those into a translation rule. And then you take the translation rule and then you put that into a translation profile, which defines what that translation rule does. So all of these individual rules inside of here can be applied to the calling or the called or whatever. And then we link that to, say, a dial peer. And maybe that dial peer says, okay, destination pattern 911. So when somebody dials an emergency number, 911, I want to apply translation profile such and such. We'll just say translation profile, it's named, so we'll say, trans or something, and then that transformation profile will change the caller ID to something 911 recognizes for the site, or whatever our goal is to accomplish. So it's designed in a very modular approach to where then you can apply that. I mean, the reason they did it this way is so I've got 50 different dial peers that go to different destinations and have different numbers applied. I can just create one transformation profile and apply it to all of them if I want that common transformation. So let me show it to you. I think it's best seen. I just booted up my 2600 router, which these things they're great because they're so cheap, but good grief, they take forever to boot. So I'm going to get into voice translation. This is the command, translation rule. And then we type what do we want, 1 to 2 billion, whatever. So I'm just going to say, let's do 1. Start off there. And I come underneath here, and you can see there's not much to it. You see there's default, exit, help, and rule. And that's what we've got. So I'll say rule, and it says, okay, well, what tag do you want? So this is the certain number of subrules. So up to 15 subrules can be applied here. So I'm going to say rule number 1 of translation rule 1. See how it gets confusing? Rule number 1 is, and then we have our, and they even make it nice and convenient. They're like, what do you want to match? So that's where I can say I want to match, let's do / numbers beginning with 480, which is an area code here in Arizona. Maybe, I don't know, let's be creative. Let's say that we're changing area codes. So I'm going to say I want to change that into 602. So all 480 area code dialed numbers, things that begin with 480, are going to translate over to 602. I mean, there's one. Or maybe I can add another one. Now, this would not be in the same rule set, but I'm just saying, let's say anything that begins with the number 9, I want to replace with, let's do that. Nothing. So what's that do? It takes it away. It deletes the 9. So again, when somebody dials 9 for an outside line, then you get that. So and of course we'd have to adjust that so it doesn't affect 911. I'm just giving some examples here. So take all that knowledge that we had in the previous section of regular expressions and examples that I gave of how to do it, and you can put those in right here. The point now is to show the syntax. So now I can take and apply that rule in. Oh, good grief! I can take and apply that rule inside of a translation profile. So let's do voice. Let's go translation profile. And this is where you can use names. So I can say this is for my. I gotta put my pen down. There. This is my translate. Let's say caller ID. All right, here, voice translation profiles. And now it's going to say, okay, well, I want to translate based on, translate the calling information, so that's the caller ID, based on the rule number 1 up here. You see this link? Not those rules. Man. Scroll back up. Rule number 1. Voice translate, kind of the big rule that contains multiple subrules. So so translate calling based on rule number 1, exit back out, and now I can go under the dial peers and apply this transformation profile. Or I can go under the FXS port, and you can see I made a little list here of all the kinds of things that you can translate or apply a translation profile to have it affect the dialed information. I changed the slide and I go, nope. I kind of gave away a little bit of my configuration here, but I want to put it together for you in a pretty cool scenario. So here's our steps that we go through to do translation rules and profiles. Number 1, you saw it, create the rules themselves. Then you can test the translation rules. So I put sweet, because this is not only a great way to see if it's working before you apply it in a real world situation, but also this is a great way to grade yourself. I mean, do you really get this? I mean, if you got a lab router or you're renting some lab equipment or something, what a great way to say, okay, I think I've got this. So we'll use that right now. Then you group them into a translation profile and apply it wherever you want. So before we do this, I want to come up with a little scenario, which I think is a great real-world situation. Let's say you've got some phones over here, and these are all the extension 3000 phones. So I'll put 3 ... Maybe this is like 3001 right here. Plugged into a switch that goes to a voice gateway, which has redundant connections. Up here we have a connection to the WAN. Maybe it's Metro Ethernet or MPLS or something that gets you over to the remote site. And over here, I ran out of room, and we've got let's just say the 4 ... extension. So this is phone 4001. But also, as any good network administrator has, you have a redundant PSTN connection. Maybe it's just a few FXO ports or something that gives you some redundancy, and you use it for emergency calling. And what I want, here's my scenario. I want this set up in such a way that people will call across the WAN as their primary path because it's free. It's no long distance. Here, I'll change colors. This is path number 1, and for that, no manipulation is fine. I want to see 4-digit extensions. I want to call 4-digit extensions. There's nothing special that needs to go there. However, if the WAN is down and I fail over to the PSTN, then 4-digit extensions are unacceptable. They won't work. So I want to dynamically transform the number to become something that works on the PSTN for both the called number, so it goes across, and also the caller ID information, so I don't see a 4-digit extension on the caller ID. Does that make sense? Pretty pretty cool scenario, I thought. So let's do it. I'm going to go over, let's just say this is the Arizona office, and I'll just do one side because it'll make sense in the big picture. Let's go on to the Arizona office. Oop, there we go. Device. And go into global config mode, and I'm going to, let's just name this hostname AZ office. And we'll create our translation rule. So first thing I need to do is I need to change, okay, so if I dial 4 ... extensions, I need to change it to whatever their DID number is. So let's give them a DID. Let's say the DID range right here is they've purchased 6195554 XXX. So essentially, when somebody dials this on the PSTN, it will come into this office right here and go to the internal extension. So they've got 1,000 DID numbers for that large office that they have there. So I'm going to go to my Arizona office. I'm going to say voice translation rule, and let's do rule number 10 because I haven't used that. So I'll do rule number 10, and I'll say rule number 1 of rule number 10 will be to match anytime somebody dials, let's do 4 ... Oh, but wait, we're gonna have to change that in a second because I'm gonna replace it with 6195555 and then whatever they have over here. But here's now I could use some shortcuts, but I like doing it by the book. So I need to carry this over. I need whatever they dialed right here. I want to carry it over and put it right here. Let's get a little fancy just because we can. So I'm going to say I want to replace it with that, and I'm going to take it and do open parentheses / close parentheses, and then /1 /. Come on now, tell me you don't feel cool doing something like that. And I know some of you are probably like, huh? What'd you do? Just as you practice this more, it's one of those like, wow, I can't believe I just did that. So right here I'm matching anything that is 4 ... right? We got that, and I just put some mishmash in between. So what I did was say match the 4, but I want to create, hang on, right here, group number 1. The / says remove the special meaning from the open parentheses. So this is creating a group, and I'm saying take these 3 digits and then close that group right there. And that's now set number 1. So right here, I did a /1 because it's saying that's not really the number 1. I'm saying carry the set number 1 over. The reason now I could have, let me just show you what I could have done. Like that. I could have done that. It just looks more impressive and it causes other administrators to be like, wow, that guy's amazing. If you do make it just look more complex. So let's get so that's our rule. Okay. Now did we do that right? I don't know. Let's test it. So I'm gonna exit out here. Man, my pen just will not stay on the desk. So I'm gonna do test voice translation rule. Yeah, look at this. So test voice translation rule set, not rule number, rule set number 10. And it says, okay, well, what number do you want to test it with? Well, let's pretend somebody dialed 4123. Right? That's something that'll test that rule. Hit enter. And it works. Look at that. It says original, but after it ran through that, it became 6195554 Come on! I mean, somebody's got to be like, that's cool, and pause the video and go on your own router and start translating away. So, okay, good. So that catches the dialed number information, right? Now let me grab my pen back up and go back over here. Now, what about this? Let's say Arizona, we're coming from 480,555 and then 3XXX. These are all the 3 extensions over here, right? So I need to create a translation for that. Now that I've seen it, it shouldn't be too hard. So let's go in and let's do voice translation rule number 11, and we'll say rule number 1 of rule number 11 will be, and we'll just do the whole thing this time now that we've impressed our friends. We'll do backslash open parentheses 3 dot dot dot, which is going to match our caller ID information. Closed parentheses, done with the match. Looks right, right? Okay, good. Forward slash, we're going to replace it with 480555 backslash set1 forward slash. Good. Now let's test this out. I'm going to do a test voice translation rule set 11, and we'll say, what if we had the caller ID 3777? Looks good. 480-555-3777 is what translated rule comes over. So looking at our list here, that's creating the rules and that's testing them. Now let's put them into a translation profile. So I'm going to go into global config mode and let's do voice translation profile, and we'll do AZPSTN failover, right? So AZPSTN failover will do a translate of the called number information based on rule number 10, and it will translate. Don't you love when I'm talking as I'm thinking? I'm going. It's like it's so jittery. Translate the calling information based on rule number 11. Enter. Right? So now now when this translation profile is hit, it's going to change the dialed number to this one, the DID, and change the caller ID based on those rules that we just created. Now we need to apply it. Now here's what I would do typically. If this were a full scenario, I would have two dial peers. I would have dial peer voice. Let's just do 10, and we'll do VoIP, and just for grins, we'll say this is preference 0, and I say grins because that's the default is preference 0. So I'll say destination pattern will be 4 dot 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 from Arizona office perspective. Session target would be IPv4 and whatever IP address existed right here. So let's just say it's 10.1.1.2, and maybe we're 10.1.1.1. So nothing there, right? So exit back out of that, and let's do dial peer voice, and we'll do 11, and this time it's going to be POTS because the preference will be, and sometimes I like skipping preference, like go to a 3 in case I need to squeeze in a 1 and a 2. Not that I would, but just for the sake of it. And then I would do a port, not caps lock, port. Let's say the FXO port is 100. And then I would do destination pattern. Same destination pattern would be 4 dot dot dot. And then I would do the translate. This is the final command. This is the one we haven't seen yet. This is step number 4 in the background that I'm waving my finger at that you can't see. Translation profile for the outgoing call leg, like when I'm dialing out, that's where I want to apply the translation profile AZ PSTN failover. If I not highlight one digit there, AZ PSTN failover. Enter. Good. So now, do you see that? Tell me, that's just a beautiful thing. Show dial peer voice summary. I've only got 2. I erased the config. So I've got this preference 1, going over the WAN for those 4. And then if that's down, it's going to fail over to preference number 3, which is going to be using the PSTN, but still applying that voice translation profile so all the right digits get sent. Don't you feel powerful now? or something? Just after seeing those concepts, I mean, we've really taken the last nugget and taken all that knowledge and then applied it in some practical scenarios that we can see. So what did we see, and what do I want you to do with it? My two summary thoughts. We saw taking those concepts, regular expressions, and applying them into translation rules, which rely on sub-rules, if you will, and then apply in a translation profile to whatever you would like to apply it to. Now, what do I want you to do with it? Oh, what do I want you to do with it? I want you to master it to where you can go in and start taking. I mean, one of the things that we didn't do. Oh, matter of fact, I didn't even think of this. But let's try it out. Let's test the theory. I'm curious if I do a. Let's hit the up arrow. Let's do a test. What if I dialed 555-3777? Oh, look at that. Look at that. You see, that's a problem. So our config is not complete, right? Because what I did in this translation rule, I just thought of it, was I said match anything with 3 dot dot dot. Well, that didn't scope it at all, right? Or match anything with 4 dot dot dot, which didn't scope it, which means that 4 dot 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 could be right in the middle of something, right? So to be 100% accurate, I would need to go in and do a voice translation rule. Let's just do number 15 there and do rule number 1. It should have looked something like /caret, right? Oh, if I could get the. I just get so excited I can't even type /caret 4 dot dot dot. Well, even better, man. This is an impress your friends kind of thing. 4 dot 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 dot. Oh wait. $, and then went through and took and applied the 480-555 caret 1 or something like that. So that way it matches things only with that start and end with this, only a 4-digit number, so we don't end up with stuff like this. Now it shouldn't happen because we're applying this to a dial peer that only matches a 4-digit number anyway. So technically, would it ever happen? No, but we could just say stylistically it's not entirely accurate because it doesn't scope it 100%. So you see what I mean? Like this is what I want you to do with it. I want you to think of any scenario that you can. PSTN failover, incoming DIDs that come in as a 10-digit number. Translating okay, take this. Translating when somebody dials *1 to a 4-digit number. A lot of companies create speed dials that are office wide on that. They say, hey, anywhere in our company you can dial *1 and get to the receptionist, or *1 and get to the security team, or whatever. I mean, come up with whatever scenarios you can think of, and then create the translation rules that do it. And if you have a router, even better, because you have built-in grading using that test voice translation rule command to try it out. Awesome. Well, I hope this has been informative for you, and I'd like to thank you for viewing.